I'm Brent Schooley. I'm a developer evangelist at Twilio. We are a platform that makes it super simple for you to connect the people that you care about together using the devices and mediums that they prefer, using the tools and technologies that you already know in the apps that you're already building or will build. That's a lot of words to say. Basically, we make it easy for you to make people talk to each other. And one of the ways that we do that is with chat. And you've seen on this stream in the past, we've built some chat applications, and we're going to continue that today. But in the past, we've done that in Swift, and we've done that in Android. But we haven't done that in what we've been programming in lately, which is Xamarin. And that's because we haven't had support for Xamarin since we shipped. This is what our IP messaging SDK looks like. It's a cross-platform, so we've got JavaScript, iOS, and Android cross-platform SDK for adding chat to your applications, and that's pretty cool. Chat is critical to a lot of successful business these days. I think about things like Airbnb, for instance. When I go on a trip and I don't want to stay in a hotel, stay in an Airbnb. And one of the things that Airbnb has had for a long time is the ability to send messages back and forth to the person you're going to stay with. It hasn't been powered by chat. It's been powered by SMS and email, but it could be powered by chat. And that would be something that would be pretty cool. Obviously, Twitch has a pretty strong chat focus. Look at any of the popular streams and tell me that chat's not important. Maybe it's not important because you can't really read it as it's flying by, so maybe there's some things we could do to improve chat down the road. But yeah, chat's pretty critical, I would say, to modern applications. Most of the best customer support I've had has been in chat where things were contextually relevant. So they already knew what my problem was. The person joined and said, "Hey, I see you're having a problem with X. Let me look at Y and get back to you," instead of me having to tell them everything that's going on. So I think that's cool. I think chat's important, and we've built a lot of basic chat functionality on this stream, and we're going to continue that same path. But today we're going to do that. Like I said, we're going to do that using Xamarin, which is cool. So Xamarin has a component store. We were trying to use it on yesterday's stream to add, I think we were looking for a component for the sticky list headers in the list view application, and we ended up getting a component, but we couldn't install it through a component store. It wasn't quite working correctly, and that's okay, whatever. I have heard they were having some trouble with the component store across the board, not just for downloading, but also for displaying. So we were lucky we were even able to get in there. It should be okay today. I have checked earlier, and it should be okay. What is the component store? Well, the component store is a place where there's a variety of things. So there's components that come from traditional component vendors, say like Telerik. So you can search for Telerik, and they're going to have a paid component set that you can buy to add functionality into your app. It looks like we're still having some issues on this component store. It was working inside of the app, so we'll head over to Xamarin Studio pretty soon here. But I do have good news. We do have our component in the component store now. So this is our chat SDK that works for mobile, works on Android and iOS. And that's we've worked with that in, like I said, in Swift and Java. Today we're going to work on it in C# and build very similar applications to what we built in the quick start for iOS and Android. So we'll do that today in C# instead. So you'll pretty much, at the end of this stream, know how to build. If you've watched the other ones, or if you go back on YouTube and watch the other ones, you should know how to build chat applications in a ton of different languages. So that's cool. Let us see if the component store over here ever updated. No, it did not. It's not giving me a lot of hope that it's going to work when we go to Xamarin Studio, but we'll go to Xamarin Studio and we'll see what happens. I'm going to leave this open because it's already loaded. And I think, well, no, because we need to go to a different solution. I have our stream stats application that we were using yesterday open, but we're going to create a new solution because we're going to start with iOS. I think we always start with iOS because it's where I'm most comfortable. I guess I could get Android out of the way, but no, we'll start with iOS. I had some help, so I should mention I had some help on getting this Xamarin SDK working. I worked with the wonderful John Dick over at Xamarin. He worked on the initial bindings for both iOS and Android for Xamarin. So that's awesome. Thanks to him a lot. He really helped out. I haven't done any successful bindings in Xamarin Android before, so it was really good to have somebody who really knew what they were doing pitch in and help out there. He also did the initial iOS bindings. Now, I have done iOS bindings before, but he definitely did it a lot faster than I was able to given current workload. So we're happy to have that. I've done some updates on the iOS one, so I'm definitely a contributor to these bindings, but yeah, they're good to go. Let's start. We're going to do platform-specific apps today. So we're going to do an iOS. We're going to start with an iOS single-view application, as we've done in the past for other applications, using C#. And we're going to call this Twitch creates chat. And we'll call this the iOS version. We'll target 9.3. We'll do iPhone only. You can target iPad, but just for simplicity in the UI, let's just use iPhone for now. And we'll do version control, and we'll do test cloud, as always. And we have our basic straight up iOS template for Xamarin. We'll let some of the packages update. It says there's one update. We don't really need to update test cloud because we're not going to get to that in this stream. But if we head over to components, hopefully this is the part that hopefully will work. We're not always successful here. The component store, it's been iffy. We'll try loading the component store. This is where we'll know right away whether it's gonna be successful or not. It loaded. That's good. Now where it's going to be interesting is, does this search work, and does the add to app button show up when the search works? That's the part that's been hard to get working the past couple days. It takes a while, and then sometimes it doesn't actually work. So I know they've been having problems, but hey, there it is. Let's click on this IP messaging one and see what happens. Hopefully things are just slow, but they're working. Oh, this Twilio client one up here. This is well, see, you're still getting that download link instead of add to app. It's not what we want. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna try it from within here. We want to get, there's an add to app button that brings the component in and references the DLLs for you and takes care of a lot of stuff for you. That's where we want to get. If all else fails, we can load up the NuGet package that I created for IP messaging. So not a problem. We will still be able to do this if the component store is not working. But I did want to show you how easy it is to get started from the component store. We'll try this again. It should say add to app. This is what we really want. But it keeps showing up with the download button instead, which means it doesn't know that it's running inside of Xamarin Studio. So I'll show you what's in here. Since it looks like it's not going to work, what would happen is you click add to app in this button here, and it will add whatever DLLs are necessary. So if you're adding it to an Android project, it'll add the Android DLLs. If you add it to an iOS project, it'll add the iOS DLLs. And then it also gives you a bunch of documentation and samples. And the documentation looks a little bit like this. If you click on this getting started, it'll hop over, and as you can see here, published today. So that's cool. This documentation will give you pretty much everything you need to know to get started with the component. So it tells you where to go, what guide to go to follow to get the server running, which is it's just a token server. It doesn't do anything more fancy than that. It's literally just a server that vends tokens. So that's cool. What I'm gonna do so that we have a fresh chat, I'm going to generate a new. IP messaging service and show you where that is. So if I log in over here, log into my Twilio account, and I'm inside of IP messaging, manage my service instances. I'm just going to create a new one. We're going to call this Twitch creates chat. And what we need out of this is our service SID. And I'm just going to drop that off screen into a file. So briefly in a second, I will zap the screen for a second. How is everyone today, by the way? Where is everyone tuning in from? That's one thing I would love to know. Let me get this in the right place. Okay, 1 second. I'm just gonna pop something into a file that we don't want to expose on stream. So I'll just throw this up real quick. We'll be right back. Literally like 2 seconds roughly, but. Just basically don't want to expose any credentials, so I'm gonna drop these in behind the scenes and save the file out and then quit it so I don't make that mistake. And then we're back to programming, so let's get this started. Thank you. I got coffee delivery, guys. Coffee straight to your desk. Coffeedesk.com. No, it's not really a thing. I wish that was a thing. That'd be pretty awesome. Amber went and picked up some coffee and she brought me back some, so that's awesome. Okay, cool. What I did there, basically, if you follow the instructions for how to get the quick start running, it tells you need some information from your Twilio account. You need a service SID, an account SID, an API key, an API secret. All these things are super important, and you can get them all from your Twilio account, which you can sign up for at Try Twilio. And it's basically free. That account is free during development. Your test chat applications, you're going to be able to test that out completely for free. We have a pretty generous free tier, so you can build this and try it out. I should mention that we have this is the C# server quick start. I'm using locally the PHP quick start. We also have one for Ruby and Node and Python. Whatever your backend language of choice is, we do have a IP messaging quick start. A server that'll generate the tokens for you. All you need to do is go fetch these right here. One thing that's fun for those that like to follow along, if you do follow along and want to build the chat portion, there's going to be a URL that I punch in for the token. If you build the app to that point and you punch in that token, you can build the chat app and actually talk to me in chat. So that's a pretty cool thing. We can definitely explore that and give it a try. But we'll talk about that in a second. What is that backend server app? So what I have is a server running that's going to be running in PHP that will fire up. I basically want to PHP -s localhost port 8000. And that's going to run a chat server locally on port 8000. If you've been on the stream before, we've done this a million times. And what that gives me is the ability to go to localhost port 8000, and I'm dropped into a chat where I can say things like, hi, and it gives me, let's see, it doesn't look like that worked. So I think we've got a problem in the server. So we'll fix that real quick. Hold on. IPM quick start running on localhost port 8000. I'm wondering if the service SID that I just dropped into that file is not correct. There we go. It's working now. We're good. We got the chat application working. So I can say hi, and it's sending messages to the chat. Chatting with yourself is super boring. I see we have some people tuned in. I know TD Bunting is there in the chat. And if there's anybody else there in the chat, say hi. But also, I think it would be a lot cooler if you could join the chat and send some messages. And then also, when we build the mobile app, you'll be able to chat with me on screen. So let's do that. Let's do ngrok http, and we're going to do port 8000. So if you're not familiar with ngrok is this awesome thing that allows you to tunnel localhost. And this blog post right here, 6 awesome reasons to use ngrok, was written by Phil Nash, who is usually the moderator in this stream, but Phil is at an event, so Phil can't be here today. Rest in peace. But Phil wrote this awesome blog post on ngrok in the style of a buzzword, a BuzzFeed blog post. So it's pretty hilarious. He used a lot of exclamation points, a lot of animated GIFs that are hilarious. So it shows you how simple it is. You're just going to download ngrok, and then the baby goes crazy. Really great blog post, but it tells you exactly what ngrok is, what it does. And what it does for us is it allows me to tunnel localhost. So a server that's running locally on my machine on localhost that I want to test out on the public internet, ngrok is going to allow me to do that. So it's going to let me say what protocol, what port, and even what subdomain I want. So what subdomain within ngrok.io, what subdomain do I want to use? So if we fire that up, we get get this basically. And this tells me that we're forwarding localhost port 8000 to both HTTP and HTTPS brent.ngrok.io. And that means that if we instead go to HTTPS brent.ngrok.io in the browser, that's going to load me into the chat, which means you can do it too. So join me in the chat at brent.ngrok.io and say hello. Cool. So you can join the chat there. Come join me. So we can chat there, and that'll be cool. And then we can use this the same chat structure for our mobile app. So I'm going to leave that up. On screen temporarily while I check a few things. I think I'm going to update the title. I think this title is not working for whatever reason. Hello, old school Bobby Essex. I'm going to assume for a second that is probably TD Bunting, but it might be somebody else. Let me know. We might build into this the ability for you to specify your name. We have another chat application that does that. We can probably build that on a future stream. Working on chat apps in Xamarin. Yeah, I'm just gonna update this to a more straightforward title for today. I don't know. People aren't tuning in. Missing some of the regulars. They must be having must be doing other things today. Actually, no. If I look at the chat, is F4B1 here? F4B1 hasn't even said hi today. Maybe we can do this. Maybe we can remind people that they're collecting eggs or something like that. That usually gets chat going. I have hatched into a green baby Yoshi. How's that? Awesome. So okay, so we're building a chat application. You can hit up that chat application. Let's see. Let's do a sticky on screen. I don't use stickies, but I've seen other people on my team use stickies to great effect. So I am going to use them too. I'm going to change this note color back to the yellow, and we are going to do font let's see, we want bigger. So command plus. So join the chat at brent.ngrok.io. We want that bigger. Bigger. Okay. I don't want it to be super duper distracting, but I do want something on screen here at all times. People can see. Maybe we'll wrap it. Stick this over here somewhere. Hopefully mostly out of the way of what we're going to be working on. But yeah, you can join the chat. You can say hello. Do it up. Actually, can I make this stay on top? Floating window. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we got a sticky that'll stick around and hang out up there. What you can do, like I said, is you can go to the brent.ngrok.io URL here, and if you do that, you'll be given a random username, and you can participate in the chat that you see on screen right now. And then just realized that my webcam changed because I think Amber was using Amber streamed last night, so that has thrown off my webcam. One second while we tweak the webcam. I don't love that. So anyways, join the chat room. So we have some people chatting in there when we go to build the next part. Let's see, that's not the right thing. We want video output. I'm not quite put in the template correctly. Let's see if I can fix that. Hey, that looks a lot better. So I think she was using the widescreen, and that's okay. That works for her setup. It doesn't work for this template. I wish that would stay set to the template, but it looks like that changes it at the webcam level, which kind of sucks. Oh, things. Okay, so there's the chat. Feel free to join that, but we're gonna go back to Xamarin. We're gonna give the Xamarin component store one more chance to work before we go to using. That's pretty big, huh? Let's. I want it to be readable, but not super distractingly covering the rest of what we're doing. I think that works. I think people can read that. Okay, cool. Let me know if you can't read that, but I think people can read that. Let's try this one more time. Get more components. Xamarin component store. What we're hoping to see is when we search for Twilio, we're hoping to have an add to app button appear when we open the component, which is what we haven't seen yet. And if we don't see it this time, we're going to go straight to using the NuGet package instead of the component. For whatever reason, this is just not working today. And that's okay. We don't really need it because I also created NuGet packages. So we'll go to add packages. This will be in the official NuGet gallery, and we will add Twilio IP messaging. If you're following along, you won't be able to use the component, so go to add the NuGet packages, and the one you want is this one right here, which is also going to bring in Twilio Common, as you see here, because it's a dependency. Okay, add package. Awesome. And what we're going to do first is work on, once this package is added, we're going to work on the UI. So we need to set up our UI. So if you've seen the chat app that we've built on other streams, you'll know that we have basically a table view at the top, text box, and a button at the bottom. And that's what we're going to set up. In this application, if we check out packages, we've added Twilio IP messaging and Twilio Common, and they've been referenced in our references, in the references from package. So we've got Common and IP messaging loaded up here. Let's go over to the storyboard first and get our UI configured. That's step one for us. And like I said, we're going to need a few things. I'm gonna lock this down so we get more space. Wait for the storyboard to load up. And I think on the simulator, which we'll load up here in a second, I can show you what the finished quick start looks like from Swift. We can see what that looks like. The storyboard designer is not the quickest thing to load in Xamarin World, but it's getting its way up there. I'm gonna make some space for myself here, so I can pull this over a little bit. Okay, cool. So this is the single view configuration. What we're missing here that we kind of want though is we want to have a navigation controller. So I'm going to bring out a navigation controller. This is going to give us a title, which we want. So I'm going to move the start over to this navigation controller and then delete this view controller that they put in there. But like I said, what this gives us, what a navigation controller gives us that we want here is the ability to put a title on our view and a subtitle on our view. So that's going to be helpful for us to indicate what channel, which is going to be the general channel that the chat's logged into, and also the status. So whether we're logging in or logged in as a specific username, that's what we're going to need that for. So anyways, that's our chat room running on the web. Let's build the chat room that will be running inside of Xamarin iOS. We need to first tell our view controller inside here that it is a view controller. If you notice in the solution, we have a view controller class already. We could get rid of that one and start with a new one. I think we'll use this one. I think we want to start with a base view controller. We do. We'll set that to view controller, and we'll change the title here. We'll change that to general. So we're gonna be logging into the general chat. Hello, Lomar17. Welcome to the stream. We are building chat applications in Xamarin today because I'm super excited to announce that we now have Xamarin support for Twilio IP messaging. So that's what we're going to be working on this morning. I fired up a chat application that everyone can join in and chat with at brent.ngrok.io. That's using the Twilio IP messaging on the web, and we're going to connect to this using the mobile app that we're building. So feel free to join that, chat away with each other. You'll get a random username, so it's semi-anonymous, although we do know who people are as they're joining, kind of. But feel free to join that. You see the URL is where? Right here? Yeah, that URL right there is the one that you want to go to if you would like to join that chat. And that, like I said, that's going to be the same chat room that we're going to be connecting to with the iOS application pretty soon. But right now, what we're doing is we're laying out the UI. So what we need to do now is add a table view. We need to add a table view to this view. I love the way this works in Xamarin. Jeez. Okay, so we want a table view. I don't know why this is being pretty wonky. There it is. Okay, we're having some designer issues today. I don't know why that's dragging from way up there. Was it doing that with everything? No, it wasn't doing that with that. There we go. Nope, that's a table view controller. We don't want a table view controller. We want a table view. I don't know why that is dragging so weird though. That doesn't look right. Okay, that is the table view itself. Okay, let's position that top left. This is problematic. We want it to be about here. We'll specify this with constraints in a second, but I don't know why that. No, that's not good. I don't like what's going on there. We may need to grab this from a different storyboard. I don't know what is going on with the designer here. Document outline, view controller. It didn't even add, the table view's gone. Oh wait, no, it might be in here. Table view cell. So it only added a cell. It didn't add a table view. That is nuts. I don't know what's going on with that. That is not a particular bug that I've ever seen. It's dragging from like way up. It's not connected to the mouse in any way. This is not the white logo version, so it's not alpha. This is the stable release. Stable-ish. I'm gonna close the storyboard and reopen it and see if that helps. I don't know what that was all about. I do have another storyboard that we could start with if this is going to be a problem. So I'm not too worried. Table view. For whatever reason, that is not doing its job. Alright, let's see if we can whip this into working correctly by giving it some constraints. Go to layout and we will define some constraints. I can't click on it. There we go. I can't click on it twice to get it to do what it's supposed to do. All right, we'll give it a constraint over there. We'll give it a constraint to the top layout guide. We'll give it a constraint to the left or to the right, and then we'll change all of these. So we want leading space to be 0. We want trailing space. I gotta click on this thing again. Yeah, it's never good when this is vertical spacing. We want to be 0 to the top layout guide. Designer does not love me. So I can't type 0 in there for some reason. 0 for that one. And then never coded a native application, only hybrid. Cool. And then we also want the horizontal spacing to the right side to be 0. I can't type 0 in there. Oh, now I just deleted it. This is not good. This is the epitome of not good. So here's a fun trick. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna, instead of abandoning ship on using this designer completely, what I'm gonna do is I am going to save what we've done so far, because we've got a link between the view controller and the class that we've got in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat a little bit. We're actually going to open this in Xcode's interface builder and make the changes in there. Oh, maybe not. Register UI app delegate. Well, I don't want to do the link thing. I want to open this straight up in Xcode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in Xcode just to kind of get around some of the designer woes that we're seeing right here. This is a cool trick you can do. You can actually open this Xamarin storyboard, because it's just a regular storyboard file. You can actually open this in inside of Xcode and work with it the same as you would inside of that program. I'm gonna put this down here at the bottom. Inside of Xcode, and then we can come back over into Xamarin Studio, and it should still be working over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the table view. Prototype content. Need to zoom this in a little bit. And then we'll set the number of prototype cells to 1. Me and designers do not get along today. What is this gigantic cell? We'll deal with that when we get back over to Xamarin. We also need a text field. So we'll drag a text field out, and we'll snap this towards the bottom, given the sort of they give you these blue lines that indicate where you should place UI elements within within the view. We're also going to have a button. We're going to put that where Xcode recommends placing it, just right there. We're going to call this one send. That's not good iOS style. Send. And then we'll drag this over to the edge until it snaps. And then we'll specify constraints based on these things. We'll bring this table view down until it reaches the point where Xcode says it should be. I think this one's not down as far as it should go, though. We want this down at the bottom of the screen. Cool, right there. And then this table view will go until it snaps. And that's set up the way with the spacing that we should have for the iOS human interface design guidelines. But it's not actually gonna, it's not actually going to render these controls in that exact location. If you're a fan of this show, you know that we haven't specified any auto layout constraints yet, which means this won't actually work. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger until it hits the edge, so that entire area is tappable, so it can't be missed. Cool. And then we're gonna specify those constraints. So we'll specify those constraints back over in Xamarin Studio because they're a little easier to do there. But now that I've got these loaded up, let's save this file and head back over to Xamarin Studio and see if it picked up the changes correctly and if we can do this the right way from here on in. It's just a storyboard file under the hood, so it's just modifying some XML, so it should be fine. Move this back up here. So we've got a table view, and we've got our text field, so we're good to go. That's cool. This is still bugging the crap out of me. This prototype cell is huge. Oh, there's a header. I think that's actually a header. Let's see what we can do here. Prototype 1, style plain, separator default, selection single selection. I don't know why we have such a huge space up here at the top. Maybe if I do prototype cells 3, prototype cells 3, nope, prototype cells 0. Yeah, we get this huge section at the top that I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we'll do one cell prototype. And what we'll try to do here, hopefully this is going to lay out correctly. We're going to set this cell, it doesn't have a name. Yeah, don't set this for our prototype view. That's cool, that's fine. We want to give this a basic, we want subtitle cell type. And yeah, I don't know why that's not at the top. We'll figure that out in a second. Hello, Morksy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are working on building a chat application using Xamarin. We're going to give this a cell reuse identifier of message cell, which we'll need when we get over to the code. Cool. Awesome. And I said we were going to set constraints, so let's do that. Table view, we want to pin this to the left side. We want to pin this to the right side. We want to pin the bottom part of the table view to the top of the text field. And then we want to, okay, so that should completely specify the table view. We want to keep the text field on the bottom layout guide a certain amount of space. We want to keep the top of it a certain amount of space from the bottom of the table view. We want to pin this to the left, and we want to pin this to the right of the button, and we want to pin the button to the right of the view. Let's see, we have some constraints that don't get specified. We need 2 constraints on the table view because we don't have a Y position. Is that because I didn't say anything for the top? Yeah. Okay. We got the top for that. That should give us the text field. Text field does not have a width, so we're missing a constraint in the X direction. I think we put this one over here, and we put this one over here, and we put this one here, and this one here. That should cover. Button needs a Y position and an X position. Yikes. There. There. This is my least favorite part, by the way. And then we want to pin the size. We'll pin the width of the button. So that satisfies the button. That should satisfy the text field, and it satisfies the table view. So our constraints are specified fully. At least they should be. I still don't know what's up with this big white space at the top here. Maybe there's something in layout that would indicate. Row height 44. Oh, header section 0. I actually don't want one. Really don't. Okay, I guess I have to specify one. That's fine. There's some sort of inset going on though. That's what I'm trying to find. There's some sort of inset happening at the top. I'm not really sure what's causing that. I'm not really worried about it either. It's something we can figure out later if we need to. It's not the important part of this stream. What we are worried about here is getting chat to light this up. So let's give these things some names. We need a table view. Basically, we're going to need to have a property for our table view. I'm going to set that as table view. So we'll come in here. We've got our UI table view. We'll give that a name of table view. And then we've got a message field, which we will call, I think we'll call that message text field. Let's do that. Message. Oops, typing in the wrong place. Message text field. And then we'll have send button over here. So this will be our send button. Cool. Let's see. That should do it. That's our text field and our button. For our next trick, we need to specify some things. So if I run this application, even though we don't have anything really in there yet, too much. If I run this application, which we'll do now, we can see if our UI is laid out correctly. I'm not convinced about this table view. I don't know what that big white space is at the top. It doesn't seem to want to not be there. We'll see if it actually lays out that way when it runs the app. I think it's going to, which is disconcerting. I don't know what is causing that. I've never seen that happen. Yeah, there's a big space at the top. I've never seen that happen with a table view. It's literally just not at the top for some reason. There's some weird padding thing going on. If anybody has seen that before and knows what's going on, let me know. I've not seen this happen, and I can't find like a property in here that would indicate why it's doing that. And I've done this a million times, really. Really done this a bunch of times. I just can't see anything here that would indicate why it would think it needs to be way up there. I was looking at the layout, like row height. I think row height of 44 is correct. Like that doesn't seem to really do much. I think we'll do 44 here for that. Not 4044, 44. This section here for the header, I can't set that to 0. That shrinks it a little bit, but it doesn't shrink it a lot. So I don't really know if there's, if there's a reason why. We're not using a header or footer, so it doesn't seem like that should be a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see anything that would indicate that we should have that space at the top. And when we were over in Xcode, it didn't really do that either. So I don't know what that is. We're gonna leave it for now. That's fine. I want to get the chat working. We can take a look at why that might be happening later. But if we look at the simulator, the one thing we do need to fix in this right away is, even if we did populate this and we did get rid of this gap, one thing that's going to happen here is when I click on the text field to start editing, notice that the keyboard slides up and it covers the text field and the send button. And we would have literally no way to see what's going on down in that text field down below. So that's the first thing we need to fix. Before we can really do anything else, we need to get the UI straightened out. And we'll do that if we come back over to our viewcontroller.cs. We can come in here and we're going to want to basically, we need to add an interface for IUI text field delegate, and then we want to implement some functions on that for the keyboard management. But first things first, in view did load, after our view loads up, we're going to need to subscribe to some notifications. So we're going to have ns notification. Yes, Xamarin is C#, so this is C# that we're going to be working with right here. We'll bring in the foundation library, and we're going to grab the default notification center, and grab the default notification center from iOS, and we're going to add an observer. And what we're going to observe is UI keyboard. We're going to get the will show. So when that happens, we're going to call something called keyboard will show. And then we're going to do the same thing. NS notification center, default center, add observer. We're going to observe the UI keyboard. We're going to grab the did show notification this time. We'll call keyboard. Visual Basic is not C#. They're in the same family of languages, which is things that work on the .NET CLR. But Visual Basic, man, if you tell a C# developer that Visual Basic is C#, they might hurt you physically. Most of the people in the Microsoft world do not like VB.NET very much, except for the people that do. But they're in the pretty vocal minority. That language is on its way out. Visual Basic is a version of Basic from way back in the day. That is, I don't mind VB either, but it's not. I don't know. It's not anybody's favorite language in that world. It is a flavor of Basic, like old world Basic syntax, that is updated. It's updated to be object-oriented and run on the .NET CLR. I might have guessed that Depot might be. I knew it was a .NET application. I didn't know. It could be C# though. I don't know what the code is under the hood, but that could be a visual C# .NET application as well. But I haven't seen the code, so I'm not really sure. I don't want to make any claims. But that could be Visual Basic or C#. They have the same relative UI kit. It's called Windows Forms. I think that's what's being used there is Windows Forms. I don't know what he's using specifically to target it, but it's definitely a Windows Forms application. I can tell that much. Be worth asking at some point. Had to do hacks. Yeah, I mean, you could look at the entire code with something like .NET Reflector. You could dig in and see what's going on with the classes. Okay, let's continue on the train here of adding observers. We basically need to know when the keyboard's going to show. So that's keyboard will show. We need to know when the keyboard has shown, and we need to know when the keyboard is going to hide. So that's what we're going to do. UI keyboard. We're going to get the will hide notification. So basically, NS Notification Center is something that we can subscribe to events. We can say, I want to observe notifications from the system, things that happen. And there's a default center that we can hook into that we can grab those observers from. And we're basically saying, I want the will show, did show, and will hide notifications for the keyboard. Let me know when the keyboard is going to be on screen so I can do things with that knowledge. Okay, so those are the 3 things we need there for the keyboard, and then we're also going to hook up a view tap. We're going to add a gesture recognizer. So add gesture recognizer, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a new UI tap gesture recognizer, and that's not going to take any parameters. But what it's going to do is, basically, if I close some parentheses, what this tap gesture recognizer is going to allow us to do is anytime that we tap on the view, the root view, anywhere within it, the text field, as long as we haven't tapped in the text field, if we tap anywhere else, so if we tap on the table view, the text, we're going to make the text field give up control of text editing. So we do that with message text field dot resign first responder. So what that's gonna do, like I said, if we're editing text and we call resign first responder, the text field gives up focus, which means it'll slide back down. Okay, so that's gonna give us tap to dismiss, essentially. Now we've added these notifications, but we need these methods. So let's create our keyboard management methods. I'm just gonna push this did receive memory warning down off the screen. And add these keyboard management things. So we're gonna have private void keyboard will show, and that's gonna have the notification that gets passed into it. So we'll have access to what notification was called, and some information that comes in off of it. What we're gonna want to do here is when the keyboard shows, actually we need a few things from the storyboard. I just remembered to make this work. We need this bottom constraint for both the button and the text view, or text field. So you see this little T guy here at the bottom, or this little I bar. We can click that, and that's the actual vertical spacing constraint at the bottom. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna give that a name. We're gonna give this constraint a name, just like we give everything else names. We're gonna come up here and we're gonna call this message text field bottom constraint. And then we're going to do the same thing for the buttons bottom constraint. So we got that selected. We're going to call this send button bottom constraint. Because what I want to do is I want to manipulate. If you look, these have values. It's 8 currently. So that is keeping the send button and the text field. It's keeping them anchored 8 units from the bottom of the screen. What we want to do is we want to increase that constant, this 8 value that's right there. We want to increase that value to 8 plus the height of the keyboard when the keyboard shows. And we want to animate that so that the text field and the buttons slide up as the keyboard is coming in. Does that make sense? So that's one of the cool things we can do with constraints, since everything is just constant, a constant with a multiplier. We can basically just add the keyboard height to this constant as the keyboard shows. So cool, we have those 2 constraints that we need. And if we hop back over here, now we can grab the keyboard height. We're gonna get the keyboard height out of the notification. So we're going to cast, we know that this is gonna be an NS value. This is gonna be notification, user info, value for key, and the key that we want is UI keyboard dot frame begin user info key. Yeah, I am referring to notes for this one. This is a weird one, but what we want is rectangle f value. So what this is grabbing is, believe it or not, let me see, yeah, dot height. believe it or not, this is grabbing the keyboard. So because the notification that we received here is the keyboard will show notification. This notification has some info inside of it. And the info that it's passing in is the keyboard's frame. So that's the frame for the keyboard, and we're grabbing from that frame the rectangle F. That's a .NET object from the, I think it's what the heck is the drawing kit in Mono? Can't remember. Anyways, that's the rectangle class in Xamarin, and we're grabbing the height off of that, which is just a float. So we have a float here in keyboard height that indicates how high the keyboard is. And then, as we just said, we want to animate. We'll animate over a tenth of a second. And we will, in that animation block here, we will animate the bottom constraint. So we're going to animate the bottom constraint for the text field and the button to slide them up with the keyboard. So let's see what that looks like. That would be this .message text field bottom constraint .constant. So that's that 8 that we have currently. We're going to change that to be keyboard height plus 8. Or we could do plus equals keyboard height. Either way. But we don't necessarily know where the text field is, so it's better to just say we want it to be 8 higher than the keyboard. And then we're going to do this .send button bottom constraint. Same deal. We want to set the constant equal to keyboard height plus 8. And then we're going to tell the view that it should layout, re-layout if it needs to. So if things have moved and it causes it to need to do a re-layout loop, we're going to let it do that at that point. Let's see if we have that first part working before we move on. Nope, we don't. And that's because we don't have these implemented yet. So let's just put stubs for them for now. So we'll do private void keyboard did show NS notification. Yeah, I would like to take a look at the I would love to see the deepbot source code at some point. Mostly because I would like to implement something like it. So I could have something that works on the Mac, for instance, or something that works in the cloud, for instance. And it's just a lot of work, and it would be cool to shortcut some of it. Keyboard will hide. There are some clever things in there. I think the thing that's most clever is the use of WebSockets. So it gives you a URL that ends in, deepbot. It's deepbot.tv / some panel, some other thing, and you visit that in the browser or put it into XSplit or OBS, and it does a switch of the protocol to WebSockets and starts listening on a local port for WebSockets notifications that are actually coming from locally on your machine. So you're not actually really doing much at all on deepbot.tv. It's just doing a redirect, setting up WebSockets locally. Pretty clever. Would like to get something like that working at some point. So it would be pretty helpful for things that I would want to build, like our analytics app for Twitch alerts and doing pop-ups and stuff like that. All right. Let's run this like I said we were going to, except this time with great success. Cool, okay, so we still have this weird issue up here. I'm just really not worried about it at this point, but what I am worried about is, does our text field and button move up with the keyboard? And they do. So we have that going. That's pretty cool. I'm glad we got to that point. Let's do the next thing that we want to do is do the other bits. The keyboard did show, keyboard will hide, and then we'll get to adding the chat functionality. Okay, so keyboard did show is pretty simple. Basically, we're going to put a stub here for now, but what we're going to want to do is when the keyboard shows, we're going to want to scroll to the bottom message. We can't do that yet because, well, I guess we could in theory. Still want to wait on that because our data source, we don't have a data source yet, but we want to come back to this. So let's do a add data source scroll to bottom. So that's a method we can come back to. But basically what we're going to want to do there, the reason that we want to punt on that is because we're going to need to check to see if the messages is set to, if we have 0, we want to return out of scroll to bottom. And since we don't have the data source yet, we can't really do that. And then keyboard will hide. We're just basically going to do the reverse of the animation that we did in the other one. So this is going to be UI view animate, and we're going to do that over 1/10 of a second as we did with the other ones. And then we will have an animation block like so. And inside of this animation block, what we want to do is take those constraints, set their constant back to 8. So that's going to be for the message text field, and for the send button bottom constraint, we'll set those back to 8, which is going to take them back down to the bottom. It's going to animate over 1/10 of a second, which is going to give us a nice smooth drop back to the bottom. With our tap gesture that we put into place up here, we should be able to tap on the table view to dismiss it. So let's see if we have just the basic functionality working before we add chat. Always good to make sure that your UI is doing what you expect it to before you do anything else. Of course, our table view isn't doing what we expect it to do, but I can't for the life of me quite figure out what's going on with that yet, so we'll dismiss that later. But you'll notice I can tap on the text view. It animates the text view up with the keyboard so that we can type. And if I tap somewhere else in the view, it'll actually resign first responder. So you'll notice we're not editing anymore, and the text field is dropped back to the bottom. So that gives us a nice tap to dismiss, so that if we want to get the keyboard out of there, we can. All right, great. So that means that we have enough to roll on with our solution. All right, so we'll quit the simulator and come back in here and start implementing things that we need for our application. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new class, and this class is going to be used to manage our messages from the chat SDK, and that's going to help us populate our chat application. Our chat application, again, this is the chat application. Come in here and say hi. You get random names. The names are awesome. I agree with that. If you join this chat, then you'll be able to chat with the iOS application once we get it started. The URL is right up here. It's brent.ngrok.io. Feel free to hop in there, send some messages. You can talk with Ignomious Cameron Cucamonga and Old School Bobby Essex and Unique Kendra Essex. You can have a chat with those great people. Once we have our iOS application working, you'll be able to chat with whatever name I get in there too. Okay, so we need a new class. So we're going to add a class. We're going to get a new file, new empty class, and we're going to call this messages data source. Not messages data source, messages data source. And this, like I said, this is going to be what manages all of the messages that come through. So we're gonna handle a list of messages that we keep in here, and it's also going to be a UI table view source. So what we need here is we are going to need the Twilio IP messaging classes, and we're going to need UI kit, and I think that's all we need, but I'm also wrong because I think we also need system.collections.generic. That should be all, but if we're missing anything else, we'll add it as we go. This class, like I said, this is going to be a subclass of UI table view source. And UI table view source is a class in Xamarin that encompasses the methods that are needed for in traditional table view development, which are the UI table view delegate and UI table view data source classes. It wraps them into one and gives us one convenient place to hook those methods. Awesome. With that, let's see, what can we do? We don't really need this. We don't need this constructor because we're never gonna construct it this way. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a list of messages. So this is the Twilio IP messaging message class. We're going to create a list of messages. We're going to call it creatively messages. We're going to give it a get. It's going to be a private set. We'll give it a get and a set. We don't want private set because we're not doing this within the same class. Get set. We're going to set this to a new list of messages like so. Cool, so that gives us a property for the messages in our chat application. Cool. We are not, you know what we're not doing? We're not working on a Twitch API app. No one called me out on that. Let's make a change there. We are working on a chat application in Xamarin iOS. Save that. There we go. Updated the stream title up at the top here. That wasn't accurate at all. Cool. Just a little thing that I missed in my workflow. That's that message that's way over there up in the top blue bar. I missed that one. All right, let's reset for a second. How is everyone doing? Notice we got about 10 viewers in here. I've heard from 3 of you. I'd love to hear from the rest. Yeah, I didn't notice it either, TD Bunting. I've been sitting here this whole time and I've looked at it several times, but I just realized that it said that we were building an API app. And we're not doing that today. We were doing that yesterday. Stream title is definitely accurate. I did change that one. Let's reset a little bit. I am working on a chat application using Twilio IP messaging. And I'm doing that in Xamarin using the Xamarin NuGet package because we tried to do it from the component and it didn't work. The component store is kind of iffy right now. And we're currently right now working on the messages source. We've set up our UI, and now we're working on the messages source. It's going to power holding on to the list of messages that we're going to put into the chat application. Say hello in the chat if you've joined recently. Let me know where you're from. I'm from Philadelphia. It's a great day out there. Would love to get out there at some point, but for right now, it's all about you guys. And what we're going to do is we're going to build this chat application together. All right, we're going to need something to manage these messages. So we're going to need a method for when messages come in. So we're going to have something called add message, and that's going to take a message object in. And what it's going to do is it's going to add that message. Should be no surprise, it's going to add that message to our messages list. Go figure, right? Hello, Watch DN. Welcome back to the stream. Happy to have you tuning in from Madison, Wisconsin. I like Madison, Wisconsin. I've been there a few times. I love Wisconsin in general. There's a conference there called That Conference that I have been to every single year of its existence. It's a lot of fun. And then we're also going to need one more. That's right, Little Marsh. Little Marsh is from the UK. That's awesome. Thanks for tuning in from across the pond. We also are going to want a method. Actually, Sunny. Wow. Yeah, we've got several team members now across the pond, and they're always talking about how crazy the weather is over there. This is going to take an enumerable of message, and we'll call that messages. Crazy that it's sunny there in the UK. I don't get to hear that too often. I'm happy for you. The sun is awesome. It's nice and warm here too, which I like. Okay, in this one we're gonna clear out. Basically, gonna clear out the list, and we are going to add. It is both. So you have that number of eggs, and it's related to the number of time spent on stream. So you accumulate. Let me check the bot. I think it is 1 for every 5. Yeah, one egg for every 5 minutes spent in stream. Mods have a multiplier, so it's a little unfair. But yeah, basically a normal user, every 5 minutes there's a timer that counts down, and every 5 minutes everyone that's viewing at that time gets awarded 1 egg. And as always, we use those on this stream for giveaways. I'm on a book kick, so we'll probably do one of those later. Again, if you want to, you can start looking for Kindle books that are less than $10. That's the idea. If we do a giveaway today, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a book. It's got to be less than $10 though. Cool. So what we're going to do here, say you spend eggs on a giveaway. Oh, does the color status go down? No. So the color status is not based on eggs. It is based on time spent, I believe. I have a list here. Yeah, it is based on minutes. So it is a solid indication of how long you have been a part of the stream. And the gaps between them start getting pretty big. So as we start to see people like mine, I think, let's see, I think the command is rank. I don't know. I know it comes in eggs, not eggs. I can't type all of a sudden. I know in the eggs command, the rank comes back. And it's based on minutes. So like the green egg is 120 minutes. So 2 hours worth of watching. But that green baby Yoshi, that one is 1920 minutes. So 1,920 minutes. So basically, you can tell how long you've been watching the stream based on your rank. And I can see in the user database that we've got some heavy hitters. Basically, I've got online hidden, and I'm taking a look. And the person watching right now that has watched the most of this stream is TD Bunting. TD Bunting with 13 hours viewed of this stream. Thank you so much for that. This is a solid reminder. You do get a bonus amount of eggs for following. That's super helpful, and I should probably use the bot to give a little prompt there. And also prompt about the team. That we have some other streamers from Twilio that do this too. You should check them out as well. What we're going to do is we're going to hop back in here, and we're going to add whatever messages were passed into this function. We're going to clear out we're going to clear out the messages that were there. We're going to update them with what was passed in. We could use this if we want to load the channel history, and maybe we'll get to do that as we move forward. We'll load in the channel history because our application won't do it by default. So we'll get that hooked up so that we can see from this chat, we can see all the things that were passed in. I wish I was old school. Zesty Ulysses Hanover. So zesty. Alright. So, basically, as you can see, our chat application gives you some nice random names. I keep pointing the wrong way. My screen is over there. It's that way. That way. Over there. I'll get that weatherman correct. Because my screen, to me, is over here. But when I point that way, I'm actually pointing off camera. So I just need to remember that when I want to point at what's going on the stream, I need to look where my streaming application is and point at it. Then it works. Okay, we're good. I'm learning. Okay, so we have added a message. We have updated messages. We have a list of messages that we're managing. Now we need to configure the table view. So as we've done in the past, there are 3 things that we need to specify for a table view to work. Take a quiz with yourself right now before I say them. What are the 3 things that we need to specify for the table view to work? I'll wait while you try to answer that. And now I'll tell you. We need the number of sections, we need the number of rows in each section, and we need a method to get the cell. That's it. That's all we need. So we're going to do that first. So we need, as I said, we need the number of sections. So we're going to do public override. This is going to be number of sections. We'll just get some tab completion on that. And what we're going to do in there is we're going to return 1 because we only have 1 section. We're just going to have 1 section for the list of messages. And then we need to override the rows in section. And this is going to be based on the number of messages in our list. So that's going to be messages.count. And then we need to override getCell. And in getCell, we're passed in two things. We're passed in the table view, and we're passed in an index path. And an index path contains the section and the row for whatever cell it's trying to get. So it's telling me for this section and for this row, what cell should I render? And what we're going to do then is we're going to grab the message out of the messages list that corresponds to that given row. So we'll pull that out of the index path. So that's going to give us access to the particular message that it's trying to render in the table. And then we're going to grab a cell. And the way we grab cells, if you remember, is we dequeue them. We dequeue a reusable cell. So there's a method called dequeue reusable cell that takes an identifier. And I'll let you try to remember for a second what the reusable cell identifier was. Do you remember? Do you remember what it was? I bet you don't remember what it was. It was, click this cell up here, message cell. So we'll grab message cell, bring it back over to the messages data source, paste that in. Actually, it didn't paste. Message cell, and then we want to do a custom cell here so that we can pass the message into it. I don't know. I don't think we really need to do that. We'll do this, and we'll set the cell's title. Is it title? Text. Text label. Dot text. We'll set that equal to the message's body. And then we'll set the subtitle, I think it's called, or detail text level. These are named a little bit differently in Xamarin than they're named in the iOS Objective-C and Swift world. That's okay. We'll set the text on that one equal to the message's author. This way, we get both the body and who sent it rendered in the table view cell. And we get to do this without creating a custom cell, which is cool. We're going to return the cell out of here, and we're good to go. This encompasses entirely the code that we need to make the table view work. Now, it's not going to do anything right now because we're not populating this data source with anything yet. We'll get to that in a second. But what we need to do now, real quick, is hop back to the storyboard, and I want to just add a little bit of styling to this subtitle. I'm going to set it to italics. Let's see, this is system font of 18, that's fine. We're going to set this one to system font 12, but we're going to do system italic of 12. Just to set it apart a little bit, to give it a little bit of a difference. And I noticed we didn't do one thing here, which is we didn't set this prompt. We want to set this to logging in by default. So up at the top of the screen, it'll say logging in until we're logged in. When we're logged in, we'll say we're logged in as whatever funky name we get there. We've seen they're pretty funky names. So we'll put that up in the top when it happens. Cool. Let's see. Still don't know why this is doing what it's doing, but that's okay. We are not going to worry about that in this stream. This stream is not about UI development, even though we spent quite a bit of time trying to set that up correctly. Okay, we need to head back to our view controller. So what have we done in here so far? So far, we did some keyboard stuff. So if I run the application again, we can see the progress that we made. Why do you think you're bad at UI? Is it lack of practice? Lack of, I don't know. I hear that a lot. I'm the kind of developer that sort of straddles both worlds, design and development. I used to give a pretty good session about design for developers at conferences, and I think what happens is, so just like there's left brain, right brain, and there's sort of a spectrum I think design and development are on a spectrum, and developers and designers can land anywhere on that spectrum. So like you might be really good at development but really terrible at design, or you might be really good at design but can't develop for anything, or you could be anywhere in that spectrum. And I think you can move within that spectrum. I think you can move within that spectrum pretty easily with practice, and just a little bit of design knowledge. Not even a ton. Just learning some basic usability fundamentals. But yeah, it's usually not. I mean, there are some people. I definitely have worked with some developers that like they'll look at a UI and say, no, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's like the most unusable pile you've ever seen. Or like they can't tell the difference between 5 different shades of blue that are like very different. And that's okay. Like that's a different set of skills. Those people were also way better at database development than I will ever be, probably. So that's definitely a thing. But like I ran them through some design fundamentals courses, and they all got better. So it's definitely just a little bit of know-how and quite a bit of practice. That's pretty much all it is. Okay, so here's what we had done before. We have this text view dodging with the button dodging. We have this tap to dismiss that we hooked up in the UI. That's pretty much what we had worked on earlier. So coming back to it, we need to do the rest of hooking up the chat. And we're going to do that. We're going to need a few things. So I know the few things that we're going to need, so we're going to add them now. And those things are the interfaces that are going to make the Twilio messaging stuff work. So we're going to need to bring in, we're going to need Twilio Common, because Twilio Common has the Access Manager class that we're going to need to request a token. And we're going to need the Twilio IP messaging namespace, because that has all of the chat goodness that we need. And with those, we can bring in IUI, not IUI, we did that one already. We need iTwilio IP messaging client delegate and iTwilio access manager delegate. And for sake of brevity, I was going to just implement these with the refactor, but I'm not getting the refactor prompt. Let's try building and see if it complains about not having methods implemented. I guess not. I guess they're not required methods, so that's cool. Hello, Random in Society. Welcome to the normal Wednesday stream, and thank you for the host. That's awesome. You're awesome. I love it when people tell their friends about the stream. The easiest way to do that, if you have a viewership, is to host while you're watching. Thank you for that. Also love it when we get new followers, because that means the community is growing. So if you're not currently following, please consider doing that. Don't mind that big no sign. That is just, oh no, don't do that. Don't want it to be small. I want people to read it. Okay. Random in Society, we have a chat room open at brent.ngrok.io. You'll get a random username in here if you want to join in. We're going to use that here in a second. So we're trying to hook up with the Xamarin application. We're hooking this straight up into that Twilio IP messaging chat application that I have running locally on my machine right now. And that's what we just added, the Twilio messaging client delegate and the Twilio access manager delegate, so that we can begin to add that functionality. So what we want to do is hop into view did load down past this UI text field dodging stuff. And what we're going to want to do is create a data source. Not a messages data source. We do want a messages data source, but I want to call something data source. Oh, I know why it did that to me. Because we didn't do this. We need to come up here and declare some fields. So up above the constructor, I am going to add a messages data source, and I'm going to call it data source. And I'm going to need a Twilio IP messaging client, and I'm going to call that client. And then we're going to need a channel object, and that's going to be our general channel. And then I'm going to store our username, so we get this random username back in our token that we're going to request. So you've seen some of these. We've got Unique Kendra Essex. We've got Zesty Ulysses Hanover, who wants to be old school because we got old school Bobby Essex. Whatever you want to do, if you join this at brent.ngrok.io, you'll get a random username. When we request the token from our server, we're going to get another random username, and we need to store that so I can display it up in the top of the app. So cool. We're going to create this now down in Viewed Load. We're going to create the data source. We're going to set that to a new messages data source. And then we're going to configure our table view to have its source set to that data source. So basically we're saying this data source manages the data that is going to get populated in the table view. And then we're going to tell the table view that it should have a row height of automatic dimension. So UI table view dot automatic UI table view automatic dimension, which means that the height will expand if the message is longer than the row height that we specify, and the row height that we'll specify is just an estimated row height. We'll go estimated row height equals 70. Sure. Plenty of space for it to estimate what the height should be. Alright, so that takes care of our table view. Our table view will load its messages from the messages data source that we created a moment ago. Now we need to do the final leg of this, which is to connect this up to Twilio IP messaging. The first thing we're going to need to make that work is we're going to need a token. So we're gonna put a stub in here for a token, and it's going to be async when we write it. So we'll say await that and go get that token. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add that get token method. And what that's going to look like, that is going to be an async method that returns a string. So it's a task of string, not an NSURL session task, but actually a task, which we will need the system.threads.threading, not code dumb, threading.tasks, that's the one, threading.tasks, so that we can do async. We'll have a task of string, and we'll call this get token. So what this is going to be is this is going to be an async method that ultimately returns a string. And where we're going to get that string and what that string does is basically we're going to have a postman. Let's pull up postman. We're going to make a get request, and that get request is going to be to https brent.ngrok.io/token.php, and we're going to pass in a device ID. So we're going to set device equal to some random ID. I'm just going to type some stuff. That's basically going to be the device identifier off of the device. And when we make this and we set that we want to accept application JSON, if we set that accept header and we send that, I'll get back this. I'll get this JSON back. And what it's going to contain is an identity. So this one would have been Brash Owen Oakland. So if we look in the chat again, it's on a different tab. If we look at the chat at brent.ngrok.io, all of these names that you see there are the identity that are coming back from the token server. And then this token here is just a JSON web token. So that's jwt.io. This is a JSON web token. So that's an industry standard RFC 7519 method for representing claims securely between two parties. What this right here tells me is what this user has access to. So if I copy this token out and I come in here and I don't do that, if I paste this token right here, we can see what's going on here. So what this is telling me in the header is what type of token this is. So it's JWT. This is the algorithm that's used to hash it, and this is coming from Twilio. And the grants basically say that for this identity, Brash Owen Oakland, for IP messaging, which is our chat SDK that we're using, for this particular service ID, which is our chat application, and this particular endpoint ID, which is Twilio chat demo, Brash Owen Oakland, HNM HSUD IP12. This person has access to chat. This is giving them a grant to participate in chat. So this is the token that we're going to request from the Xamarin application. Does that make sense? This basically is just something that we can pass to the IP messaging client to say we have access. So presumably you would have done some auth. You've gotten to the point where you can request a token on behalf of this person. And we're good to go. Cool. If I hop back over to Xamarin, basically at this point, we can continue down the path of getting this set up. So if I go to device ID equals UI device dot current device dot identifier for vendor as string, this is going to grab our the device identifier for whatever we're using. So it would be the simulator or the device that you're running locally, whatever the case may be. We need that device ID to pass into the token endpoint. We're going to create that token endpoint right now, and that's going to be we'll use interpolated string here. That's going to be at https brent.ngrok.io/token.php, and then we're going to pass in that device identifier, and we're going to use C#6 syntax for string interpolation and just pass in the device ID right here. So basically this device ID gets subbed in right here. Why is this complaining? Oh, because I didn't set this method as async. Async. Cool. Right, so this is going to grab us a token endpoint, and then with that token endpoint, we are going to use HTTP client to make the HTTP request. So we're going to need using oh, you know what we need? We're going to need a few references. So we need system.net.http, and we need system.net.json because we're going to need to parse that JSON that comes back. So we're going to use system.net.http and system.net.json. Or system.json. Sorry, getting a little fumbled at the keys. We've got the HTTP client and the JSON parsing that we're going to need for this method. So let's make the request. So we'll create an HTTP client. We'll set that equal to a new HTTP client. And then we'll grab some data, and we'll get that by calling HTTP client.getString async. So we're going to get a string from our token endpoint, and that's going to come back. And then we'll grab the JSON out of that data that we got back, and we're going to do a JSON object, and we'll do JSON object.parse. We'll pass in the data that came back. So that's just going to be the string that we just saw in the JSON web token. And then we're going to set identity equal to JSON. We're going to parse into this. We know from looking in Postman that this is at token. So we'll grab, we have identity to grab our identity out. So we'll set identity equal to the string that comes out of there, and these might all be null, so we never know. And they're also going to have, because of the way system.json works, they're all going to have these extraneous quotes. If you use something like json.net, this doesn't happen. Like, it automatically does that trim if the JSON doesn't come back correctly. But anyways, we don't want those quotes, so we'll get them out of there. So we set the identity so that we can refresh the title of the application, and then we want to return back the actual token. So if we return the token to string, another question mark, another trim, we'll trim out the quotes from either side, and that'll do it. So that'll actually return back that'll return back a token that we can use now. We want to use that token to create an access manager object. So the access manager object is going to look like this. Well, first of all, we know that we've logged in, so we should set the navigation items prompt equal to logged in as, and we'll do identity. So we've set the identity in the token method, so we have access to that now. We'll close that up, and that should set the where is it? Do we have the simulator running? No, we don't. We'll take a look at that in a second, because we're really close. We're actually pretty close to having the chat working, at least the default bit of the chat. We need to grab an access manager. We need to create an access manager using the token that we got from the get token method. We'll do create, and we'll pass in the token, and we'll set this as the access manager delegate. And then we'll use that access manager to create. Hey, thank you for the follow, Jeremy Spoken. That is excellent. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Love it when people join in. It's a good time to remind everybody that you are collecting these lovely eggs. We use eggs for giveaways. You must be a follower to participate in giveaways. But now you are, so you will be able to. And yeah, we give away books lately, so that'll be fun. We'll probably do that later. I'll give away a book under $10 off of the Kindle store. And those you'll need eggs to be able to purchase tickets for the raffle drawing. You'll also see that you have a rank within the channel. That stuff's all cool. We'll do that later. We'll worry about that later. Let's get this thing working. We're gonna set our client equal to Twilio IP messaging. I guess it's gonna be IP messaging client.create, and this is gonna take an access manager, and it's going to want to have a delegate. We're gonna use this for the delegate. Awesome. So we now have a Twilio IP messaging client. That is going to give us the privilege of connecting to our general channel. And what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to check a few things. We're first going to get a channel list. So that's going to look like this. So we use the client to get a channel list. And that is going to have a completion callback. And what we're going to do in the completion callback is we're going to have access to the result and the channels that come back from that call. And then we're going to specify some code to run when that happens. Close everything up and drop in here. So this is going to get us a channel list. When the channel list comes back, it's going to drop into this block. And in this block, the first thing we want to do is we want to try to set the general channel to a channel that we can get. So we want to do get channel with unique name, and we want to see if there's a channel named general already. And if there is a channel named general already, then we would just join it. That's the idea. We'll just join it. So the first thing we want to check is we want to check if the general channel general channel is not equal to null. So we want to make sure that we actually got a channel back from that request. And if we did, then we want to just call join. So we want to do join. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting colors going on. That's cool. And when everyone starts hatching into Yoshis, you'll see there's a bunch of different colors there too. I pretty much found every canonical color of Yoshi and then provided my own ranks of Yoshi past that. So the first one is baby, which you can see if I do my eggs. You can see that I'm a green baby. It goes all the way up to like Super Yoshi. So there's some crazy things in there. There's like Invincible Yoshi. I don't know. I came up with some crazy names. I still got to get some Yoshi theming in all of this this stuff, and then the panels down at the bottom below my stream. I haven't gotten there yet. I have some people kind of helping with that, so we'll get there soon. It's fun. Okay, general channel.join, and this is also going to have a completion. It's just going to have a result parameter, so we're just going to call that R. And we're going to drop into some code for that, and close up shop on that guy. And this one in here, once we join, I'm just going to write out to the console. So console.writeLine, and we'll just say successfully joined general channel. So that's cool. That gets us into the general channel. Now, womp womp. If we don't have a general channel, then we need to do some more legwork. We're going to need to actually create the channel here, and the way we're going to do that, basically, is we're going to need to use. Since I can't quite get this binding right on strongly typed dictionaries, we're going to need to use an options dictionary from just straight up NS dictionary, and we're going to pass in a few things. This is where it gets a little hairy, a little bit ugly. We need to specify TWM channel option friendly name. Now I can't expect anybody to ever remember that, so I need to get this binding correct so that these can be done in a strongly typed way. What we're going to do is we're going to call that general chat channel. See, like, we punted a little bit on it's better to have something working than to not have anything at all, because we're trying to be perfect about it. So you got to ship and then iterate. TWM channel option type, we're going to pass this 0. 0 corresponds with public. I don't know how you would ever figure that out, but we're going to document it quite well. Then we're going to do channels.create channel, and we're going to pass those options. So options go in here. And then we'll do creation result, and then a channel, which is the channel that comes back. That's going to be the completion method for this. iOS is all about the completions. Close that up. And in here, once we create the channel, we're going to check first to make sure that it was successful. So creation result, we'll make sure that that was successful. And if it was, then we want to drop in here and set the general channel equal to channel, the thing that just got created, and then we want to join it. So we've created it, but we haven't joined it. So we'll do the join thing again. Now I could break these out into individual methods, then we could have just called join here. But for sake of just quick brevity here, we're not going to do any refactoring. We could do that later if we want to. But here we want to do general channel. Since we just created it in this case, we need to do some cleanup. So we need to do set unique name so that we have the channel with a unique name of general now. And we have a completion here that we don't care about. So we'll close that off. Cool. So basically what we just wrote here is the ability for us to get a channel list. And from that resulting channel list, we check to see if there is a general chat channel, channel with the general name general, and if it did exist, then we join it. If it didn't exist, then we create it using the options that we specified here, and when it gets created, we joined it and set its unique name to general. So next time we would fall into this block up here. With that in place, we are now connected to the IP messaging. So that's cool. Let's try a build, make sure we haven't made any mistakes. We did a lot of typing there. It could be some syntax errors. Just want to make sure that we're good there. As long as we're good there, we can start to bring in messages. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll load the channel history. And things get a little wonky here because the way the binding is set up correctly right now currently is we need to explicitly do a foundation export. Let's see, this is going to be export, and we say that we're exporting something that corresponds to IP messaging channel history loaded. This is not the ideal way to do the binding, and I want to get this cleaned up. But what this is saying, what this export is saying, is that the function that I'm about to write underneath this attribute corresponds to IP messaging client. Sorry, corresponds to a function called IP messaging client channel history loaded in the Objective-C code that we bound this SDK to. So what we're gonna have is we're gonna have a void channel history loaded, and that's going to take a Twilio IP messaging client called client, and it's going to take a channel called channel. And what we're doing here is basically there is an event that'll get called, or a method that'll get called on our delegate, which is our current class, called channel history loaded, when all of the channel history has loaded for our channel. So that's all the past messages, basically. So we'll do messages equals channel dot messages dot all messages ordered by. This is going to be link, so we need to bring in link. Order by, and we want to order this by the messages timestamp. Right, so we want to order it by the time that they came in, so that we're displaying messages in order. This is also going to be, this is system dot, what is it? System dot time. Where does timestamp come from? Are we missing something super basic? We've got system, we've got system link, we've got foundation, we've got UI kit, we've got tasks, we've got JSON. Collection generic. I don't know why we don't have timestamp here. Twilio IP messaging dot message does not contain a definition for timestamp. Okay, did I type it wrong? Oh, it's lowercase s. Sorry about that. Okay, lowercase s on the timestamp. Got it. So we're gonna order by the timestamp that's in this message, and that's just gonna be a string timestamp, but it'll do it correctly. Because of the format of the string. So that's cool. So we're going to order the messages that come back in the channel history by their timestamp. We are then going to call data source dot update messages. So that, remember, update messages, if we pass in messages here, update messages clears out the list of messages and then adds whatever messages are passed into it. And then we need to tell the table view to reload its data. And then we want to scroll down to the bottom. So here's where we're going to need our scroll to bottom. We mentioned before that we were going to have a scroll to bottom message method, and we haven't implemented that. And where we knew we needed that was in this keyboard. Where was that? Keyboard did show. So we're going to add this now, this scroll to bottom message method that we punted on for the time being. And what that's going to do is it's going to check to see if we have messages, and if we don't have any messages, it's just going to bounce right out. But what this is going to do is scroll down to the bottom. So it's going to load up a bunch of messages, and then it's going to scroll us down to the bottom. So we want to check if the data source dot messages dot count is equal to 0. If it is, we return. Otherwise, we will grab the bottom index path. So this is the index path of the message that is at the very bottom of the list. So we're going to grab an NS index path. We're going to grab that from the row and section of the table view. We'll check number of rows in section, and we'll grab 0, and then we'll subtract 1 from that. So this is going to get number of rows, and then subtract 1 to grab the index, and then we'll set the section to be 0 because we only have one section. So that's going to be the bottom index path. So we're saying, give me an index path from row and section, and the row that we're grabbing is the very bottom one, and we subtracted 1 to get the index, so that it's 0 based. So number of rows minus 1, and then the section is 0 because we only have one section. Cool. That's awesome. And then we'll do this dot table view dot scroll to row. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll to the bottom index path. And we're going to say we want UI table view scroll position to be bottom. And we want to animate it. So we'll pass in true. So that's that. That's our scroll to bottom message method. We can come down here and put this in our keyboard did show since we punted on that. This dot scroll to bottom message. Cool. So that means when we hit the keyboard, regardless of where we're scrolled to, it'll scroll us down to the bottom message when the keyboard shows. Awesome. That's cool. Let's see, what other things can we do? So right now we have channel history loaded. Let's see if it worked. So we've sent collectively we've sent a lot of messages. Let's see if this works in iOS. Let's see if it works, period. That message didn't send. Okay, I'm gonna send a new message as a new user. Let's see if this works in iOS. Cool. Okay. So we have our chat application on the web. You can join that if you want to, and then you'll be able to talk to the iOS chat application. That's at brent.ngrok.io. You'll be given a random username. We should be pulling in all of the history now. So if I run this and we don't have any errors, hopefully after a short delay, all of the chat messages will load into our Twitch Creates Chat iOS application. We haven't done anything wrong. Logged in as Killer Quincy Cucamonga, and hey, check all this chat out. And we got another message while I was away from Holly Hannah, Indianapolis. Chatty chat chat. Check it out. So these are all the messages that have been sent since we spun up the application. If you send a message right now, it won't load into the application. That kind of sucks. Let's do that first. Let's see what code we need to add to populate a new message. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for, we're going to need the message added. So we have channel history loaded. Now we need to do the same sort of thing here, but we're going to do message added. So this one here is going to be message added. And we're going to call this message added. So public void message added. And this is going to take a Twilio IP messaging client that we'll again call client. It's going to take a channel again because it's going to indicate what channel the message was sent from. And it's going to have the message that was sent that we'll call message. And this is going to get called anytime there is a new chat message that pops up. And what we're going to do there is, let's check here real quick. Okay, the chat's running. We're going to do data source dot add message. So we had that add message function on the data source object, and then we're going to do table view reload data. And then if we have more than one, which we should, but if we have more than one, just to be clear, messages.count is greater than 0. If we have more than one, we should scroll to the bottom when that new message comes in. If that message had been nil, obviously this would cause problems if the count was 0. Anyways, that will take care of when a new message comes in. It'll add it to the data source and it'll scroll us down to it. So let's take a look at that if we rerun the application. Come over here. If someone wants to start sending chats, that's cool. Otherwise, I can take care of it. Oh, did we break somewhere? We broke somewhere. Or did we? I see a break somewhere. Why did we break? That's not cool. Let's not start breaking now. That's not good. I wonder if I hit pause accidentally or something. Or if we actually have a legit crasher right now. It looks like we have a legit crasher right now. What's going on? It's not popping up showing anything either. I don't know where we are at where we are crashing. Registrar found a signature mismatch. Oh, you know what? I bet you I bet you I named this incorrectly. Stop. So this is one problem with the binding not being so hot. I think, what did I type wrong here? Oh, it's channel. So we want channel message added. IP messaging client channel message added. That works. That's better. Okay, so we head back over to our chat. We'll run the iOS application again. We'll need a chatter in a second. Let's wait until the iOS application loads and populates all of its data. All right, see you later, Lil Marsh. Thanks for tuning in again. Okay, so we got everything loaded up here. Now if I say hi, notice that it populates. If I scroll back up a little bit and I say hi again, it populates and scrolls back down. So everything's working there. So we have channel history loading on application launch. We have messages being populated in the iOS application. What are we missing? Well, what's a chat application if it can't send messages, right? So we need to hook up our send button. We're going to need to hook up our send button to make this work. So what we're going to do is hop back over to Xamarin. We're going to scroll back up into View Did Load. And at the bottom of all this stuff, we're going to take our send button and we're going to set up the touch up inside event, and we're going to create a little bit of code here that'll run when we push the button. And what we're going to do when we push the button is we are going to create a message. So we're going to create a message off of the general channel. So we'll we'll grab the messages list off of the general channel, and we'll create a message with that object. And we will take the message text fields text, and during the send we will disable the send button so that you can't press it again and cause a problem. So we'll set that to false. And then what we want to do is we want to use the general channel messages object to send this message that we just created. So we take general channel dot messages dot send message. And we are going to pass in the message that we just created, and then we're going to have a completion. So we'll have a result here, and what we're going to do with that result is, I think that's correct. Yeah, what we're going to do in here is basically respond to what just happened. So we're still going to have text in the text field, so we want to clear that out, and then we want to re-enable the button. But we need to do that. We need to do that when we know that the message is sent, and we also need to do that since we're kind of in a background thread here. Why did I do join? This should be. Oh no, I'm down here. Sorry, I'm getting lost. Send messages, message are in here. We need to. Since we're going to be on a background thread when this completion runs, we need to do a begin invoke on main thread. And that's going to take no parameters. But what's going to happen here is we're going to run some code. And this is also going to need to be closed out. Cool. What we're going to do here is we're going to set that message text field. We're going to set the text to string.empty. Like so. So that's going to clear out the text field from the previous message that was sent, and then we're going to re-enable the send button. Set that equal to true. So our button will get re-enabled, and that's all going to happen on the main thread so that we don't have problems there, because basically you can't manipulate the UI thread UI objects from a thread behind the scenes. It's from a background thread. So this should give us the ability to send. It won't be quite exactly what I want completely, but it should work. We'll go over here, and then I'll show you one shortcoming that we don't address yet with this, and we'll resolve that. So we can come in here and we can type, and I can say, I'll just say hi, hi from iOS. Give that an exclamation point because that's awesome. We're logged in as Jolt and Victoria Jaljin, and if I hit send, you'll see that pop up over in the web browser. So showing cross-platform here, JavaScript SDK over to iOS SDK. Things are working great there. What I was going to say that's not quite great is that this won't do anything. So if I type some text here and I hit this, what I would really love is to have a send button here down at the bottom instead of return. And we can hook that up pretty easily. Now that we have everything working, we can go over to our storyboard again. So if we crank open this storyboard, if we come down some code to run when we hit the return key. And we do that with key style. So we can set this return key to send. So that's going to make it a blue send button. Right, like that. And then that gives us the blue send button, but we also need to hook up some code to run when we hit the return key. And we do that with, we added this UI text field delegate, and that's what we're going to use for that. So we're going to come down past our keyboard stuff here, and we're going to add, this is going to be text field should return. So I wonder if we can override that. Public override text field. No, we're going to do the foundation export path for that one too. So that's going to be export. This is going to be text field should return. And we're going to call this method public bool should return. And that's going to take a UI text field. And that text field is going to be called text field. And inside of here, what we're going to do is the same exact thing pretty much that we did with the send button. What we're going to do is we're going to create a message. We're going to use the general channel messages object, not members, messages, to create a message again. And we're going to use the text field's text again for that. And then from that, we're going to access the messages object and send it out. Message. Again, we could refactor so that we're calling the same method here. Really not worried about that right now. We could do refactoring later. It's fine. And then we'll close that out. And what we're going to do is when it completes, we'll just set the text field .text equal to, we'll do string.empty for consistency. We also probably want to do the same thing with the button that we did before. So send button dot enabled equals false, and then this should probably also be begin invoke on main thread. So we'll do this on the main thread too, just to be safe. Never know. I don't think we're on the background thread there, but we could be. Always could be. Okay, and then in here we'll set the text field to empty and we'll re-enable the send button. Cool, so that gives us two ways now to send a message. We have the send button that's in the UI, and we should also have a send button at the bottom of the keyboard. That's pretty much, this isn't right. Oh, we didn't return true. Right, it should return, so return true. Cool. So this is probably going to be all of the functionality that we do in here, because we've done pretty much everything that we need to do by default. We could do more things. We could add new channels and that sort of thing, but that's a UI challenge that we can save for another day. But yeah, so we've got this chat app running at brent.ngrok.io. We have the ability to send messages from JS and have them appear over in our iOS application. We now have coming from the iOS side, we have a send button that can send things, and then we also have let's do iOS again. We have this send button down at the bottom of the screen now that will do the same thing. Should do the same thing. Looks like it's not doing the same thing. Why not? Oh, you know what? We didn't set the text views delegate, so it doesn't know that it should respond to that delegate method. So if we come back up to view did load, where we did this button method, we can also do message text field dot delegate is equal to this, so that it knows to call that delegate method on our view controller. So you always want to, when you have a delegate, you always got to remember to set your delegate correctly. I'll get this loaded up. We'll take a look at that send button working this time. If we pop back over here and we do hi, we send this. Cool, awesome. So the bottom send button is now working as well. So let's review all the different pieces and parts of what we have going on here. We've got a navigation controller that we're using to populate the title. So that's the general channel title, and then a prompt that tells us who we're logged in as. We're using a UI table view where we have created a messages data source that manages a list of Twilio IP messaging messages. We have created some keyboard dodging code so that when the keyboard shows, we can move the text field and the button out of the way. We showed how to do that with auto layout, basically, manipulating the constraints from code. We also added a tap gesture recognizer to the view so that if we tap on the view, the keyboard will dismiss itself. Awesome. Let's see, what else? We added, so we hooked up Twilio IP messaging. We showed how the token generation works, what a JSON web token is, as well as all kinds of stuff there. Basically, how to load the channel history, how to add a message as it comes in. Hello, Nasty Samantha Jaljin. Yeah, so we saw how to basically do all kinds of things. What we haven't done that we can do in the future is, you'll notice we just received a kappa. Last week, stacking, I'll get to that in a second. So one thing we can do in the future is we could actually parse out emojis like kappa and replace them with the proper kappa image. So like there's all kinds of fun things we can do with this chat application down the road. But we have the basics working now.
Bots. 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 What is the deal with bots? Everyone's talking about bots. Bots can be anything. Are they command lines? Are they intelligent agents? Are they going to take over? Will the best bot be the killer bot? Come to Signal 2016/bots conference in a conference, where you'll find people thinking about every aspect of bots, how to build them, experimenting, what are the use cases. There's a lot to discuss and a lot to figure out and a lot of great ideas out there. We want to hear from people who care about the future of what bots can do. We'll see you there. Bot or not bot? That is the question.